Welcome to SpookCentral Quick Chills, where we bring you the stories that crawl under your skin and stay there. Tonight's tale is more than a warning. It's a challenge. What if the answers to everything you've ever wanted to know were just one click away? And what if that click led you to something far older, far darker than the internet itself? This isn't just a story. It's the last thing you'll want to hear if you value your soul.
It started the way most horrors do these days, with something that felt innocent, a whisper in the darker corners of the internet, a link passed around in encrypted forums. People called it one click, one truth. It didn't look like much. A black thumbnail, a title that could have been a joke, and no metadata. Nothing to suggest what was inside. No one knew where it came from. Some said it was an AI experiment gone wrong. Others believed it was older, a curse forced into the digital age. But the stories always ended the same way. Max wasn't one to fall for these things. A skeptic, a gamer, a tech-savvy 20-something who spent more time in Discord than with real people. But that's the thing about this video. It doesn't wait for you to find it. It finds you. Max's story began with an email. No sender, no subject, just the link. One click, one truth. He stared at it, his chest tightening as if something unseen was pressing against him. His instinct screamed to delete it, but he didn't. The link felt alive. For hours it sat there, unread, until Max gave in. Curiosity wasn't just whispering to him, it was clawing at him, dragging him closer. When he clicked, the screen opened to a blank page. No ads, no comments, just the video, black and featureless, waiting. He hovered over the play button, and then, without warning, it began to play. There was no sound at first, just the black screen, cold and empty, like staring into the abyss. Then text flickered onto the screen, white and deliberate, as if typed in real time. "What do you want to know?" Max froze. His heartbeat quickened. Something about the question, it wasn't just words. It felt alive, pulsating in the dark like a heartbeat. He whispered to himself, "This has to be a prank." But even as he said it, his fingers moved, typing back, "Who are you?" The screen glitched, lines distorting and twisting before it responded, "I am what you seek." Then the images began. At first they were nothing but flashes, grainy clips of old forests, flickering firelight, and faces too distorted to recognize. But as Max watched, the flashes began to slow and the images became painfully familiar. A handprint in ash on a cabin wall, a gnarled tree with symbols carved into its bark, a shadowy figure standing in a field under a blood-red sky. Max's breath caught as he realized this wasn't just a video. It was remembering. His childhood fears, the nightmares he thought he'd outgrown, came alive on the screen. The cabin from the family camping trip he barely remembered, the storm that left him crying for hours, and the shape, always the shape, waiting just beyond the firelight. Video didn't just show him memories, it spoke to him deep and primal, in ways he couldn't understand. The text appeared again. "What do you want to know?" Max couldn't stop himself. He typed, "Why is this happening?" The screen went silent, still, and then new words appeared. "You asked for truth. Truth demands sacrifice." The air shifted subtly at first, like the quiet before a storm. Max didn't notice it right away. He was too transfixed by the words now etched on his screen. But then came the smell, damp, cloying, like freshly turned soil. He glanced over his shoulder. The room felt wrong. The soft glow of his desk lamp seemed to dim, as if the shadows were swallowing it. A faint, low vibration hummed underfoot. Not a sound, but a sensation, that crawled up his spine. His eyes flicked back to the screen. The text was gone, replaced by something else, a slow, flickering image. At first it looked like a forest, but not one he recognized. The trees were twisted and impossibly tall, their trunks gnarled and pulsing faintly as though alive. The sound of the drum began, a low, steady rhythm that seemed to sync with his heartbeat. The shadows in the room moved, not in the chaotic flicker of candlelight, but deliberately, sliding across the walls like living things. They weren't just shapes. They had weight, depth. He tried to stand to turn on the overhead light, but his legs wouldn't move. On the screen, something emerged from the forest. A shape that didn't make sense at first. Antlers, yes, but wrong. They curved in jagged, unnatural patterns, each tip dripping with some dark, viscous liquid. The figure's face wasn't a face at all, just a hollow space where light seemed to collapse. The drumbeat grew louder. The shadows on the walls weren't just flickering now. They were mimicking the figure, staring at him, waiting. They found Max a week later, wandering aimlessly near his apartment. He was barefoot, his clothes streaked with dirt, his face pale and vacant. His eyes, once sharp and lively, now looked through people rather than at them, glassy and unfocused. At first, he wouldn't speak, wouldn't acknowledge anyone around him. But when he finally did, his words came in fragments, soft, broken whispers that chilled those who heard them. It's in the trees, the shadows, the mirrors. His friends tried to help, tried to bring him back to himself. But something wasn't right. The air around him felt thick, oppressive. Light bulbs flickered and buzzed whenever he entered a room. And then the dreams began. Everyone who spent time with him dreamed of a dark, endless forest. The faint, rhythmic sound of drums echoed in the distance, growing louder with each passing night. Some swore they saw it, the figure at the forest's edge, its jagged antlers, its hollow, watching eyes. But the worst part wasn't the dreams. It was the reflections. The figure stared back from puddles, darkened windows, even the black void of their phone screens. Max wasn't a victim anymore. He was a vessel. The curse had broken free. And now the question turns to you. You've heard the story. You've felt its weight. But here's what you don't realize. Listening was your first mistake. What if you're a carrier now? What if the link didn't need Max to find you? It only needed someone to tell its story. Have you checked your mirrors lately? Heard the faint sound of a drum beat at night? Think carefully about this one question. What do you want to know? Because the link already knows you. And now it's waiting to spread through you too.